guys, welcome back to 155 Books. My name is Shannon and today I'm going to be doing something very exciting because not only am I going to be reviewing Hamlet by William Shakespeare, I'm also going to be doing a slight discussion on why I don't think it was written by William Shakespeare. So quick disclaimer, I haven't actually done a lot of research into this, so it's more of a sort of jokey fun discussion, me just being weird and kind of out there, because I know that there are theories out there that William Shakespeare didn't actually write all of his plays and there was maybe one or loads of other people, and that William Shakespeare is actually like a pseudonym for like a group of people. I know, that's too far-fetched for me. I would like to believe it's one person, but then I read Hamlet. So I have got my little review book out and I am going to, like my usual reviews, go through the plot, the characters, the storyline and the writing, but in a slightly different order today just because it suits my discussion a bit better. I will of course be talking about slight spoilers in this because I'm going to have to in terms of my discussion. We know it's a tragedy, but I will be talking about what happens at the end, so if you don't want to know about that, then maybe just listen to the plot and don't delve into my discussion bit, but thank you for being here anyway. So firstly, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the plot. Hamlet follows the tragedy of the Prince of Denmark, who is of course Hamlet. So the main character is Hamlet himself. But at the very beginning of the play, we meet his recently deceased father's ghost, and Hamlet talks to this ghost, who he believes is his dead father, and he tells him that his wife, who is now married, his brother, is the one that poisoned him. So Hamlet's uncle, who's now married to his mother, supposedly killed his father to be king. And there is of course a love interest with Hamlet as well, but the majority of it is just monologues of Hamlet slowly going insane after hearing that his uncle may have murdered his father. So simple storyline, but it is quite a long play. But first of all, before I get into the characters, the writing and the storyline, I do want to give a couple of discussion points on why I don't think this was written by William Shakespeare. The first being the pure length of Hamlet. So Hamlet is Shakespeare's longest play, and that rolls into the next reason is the sort of writing style. The monologues is very unlike anything I've ever read in the Shakespeare plays that I have read so far, written by Shakespeare. So those two things combined really early on were like ringing bells in my head. I was a bit like, the writing style is very different to anything else I've read, and it's very long. But then there's also another bit in this play that I was like, hold on a second. He, if it is written by William Shakespeare, mentions one of his other plays, and I don't think I've ever come across that before. I don't know if it's something that Shakespeare does, if he references his own work in his plays, because he mentions Julius Caesar in Hamlet. And I did check the timeline, and Julius Caesar, the play by William Shakespeare, was written before Hamlet, so that does allow for the fact that, you know, it is his own work that he is referencing. But I was a bit taken aback. I was a bit like, wait, he would never do that. But then, please correct me if I'm wrong if he does do this in his other plays, ones that I may not have read yet. Please comment down below, let me know. And of course the fact that I did not find one single thing wrong with this play. Out of all of the Shakespeare plays I have read, there's definitely at least one thing I could think of that I could be like, no, I didn't like that, you know, it could have been better because of this reason. With Hamlet, I finished it, definitely knew it was outstanding, up there, top of the shelf, favourite Shakespeare play, 5 stars, amazing, not a single thing wrong with it. So now that you know that I loved this play, I am going to review it in terms of the writing and all of that stuff. So I'm going to start off with the storyline because I do feel like the storyline of Hamlet is very Shakespearean. It does feel like something that Shakespeare himself would envisage. It's just the execution of it was done so well, I don't think it was him, because it's a tragedy. Everything that happens at the end, very tragic, very Shakespearean. Basically, spoiler, everyone dies. There is also obviously a clear moral to this story. Right this second I can't really think of what it is, but each tragedy kind of ends on a note that sort of looks back at things that happen at the beginning or throughout the play to sort of say, don't do that because then this will happen, i.e. everyone will die. So it did have a moral to the story as well, which you see in the majority of Shakespeare's tragedies. There were also funny parts to this, so that again makes me think that perhaps it was written by Shakespeare, because his tragedies do have, like, most of the time, like a sprinkling of humour just to, you know, not make it as deep. And there are definitely aspects of funniness in this play. The last thing I want to mention about the storyline is that it is quite a simple one, but we've seen that before in, like, Julius Caesar. It basically just follows the betrayal of Julius Caesar, and with Hamlet it's an age-old tale. Oh, the king dies, he's been poisoned by the brother so that he can become king. We see that everywhere. It's fairy tale-esque, you know, it's used a lot of the time, but it's just the way it's executed. It's too good. Now on to the characters in this play. I don't have a lot to say about the characters, mainly because Hamlet just steals the show. I do also love Ophelia. I think that she's a very interesting character and parallel to Hamlet in terms of trying to keep him sane. It's a sort of back and forth between Hamlet and Ophelia in terms of, like, saneness. And again, I would say that she's possibly the moral compass, or the character that you can measure madness against. And there are not a lot of characters in this. It's sort of Hamlet, Hamlet's family, a couple of Hamlet's friends, and Hamlet's love interest, and then, like, servants and ghost and things like that. And again, compared to some of his other plays, there's just, like, 2 whole pages of characters that are very confusing. So I found that a bit odd, especially for a play that is this length and the storyline being so simple and there not being that many characters, but it's a long ass play and it's amazing. Like, something's not adding up here for me and I don't know what it is. So next I want to talk about the writing, and the main reason why I get the idea that this possibly wasn't written by Shakespeare is because of the writing. The writing is just so good, and the way it's written, in terms of, obviously, the majority of dialogue comes from Hamlet in monologues, and yes, you see lengthy monologues in some of Shakespeare's other plays, but Hamlet is so long and the majority of it is just one character talking to himself, to a ghost, to the audience, and it's just so different to any of his other plays. It just sits weirdly with me. Like, if he'd come across this writing technique and realised he liked it, he maybe would have used it more, but you literally don't see this in any of the other plays, and that confuses me. So in conclusion, when talking about this book and saying it is one of my favourite Shakespeare plays of all time, I gave it 5 stars, and it's very similar to, like, how much I love A Midsummer Night's Dream. I also gave that 5 stars. But I find it very hard to put them in the same category. But talking through my thoughts about Hamlet, I realise if you compare it to A Midsummer Night's Dream, there's loads of characters in A Midsummer Night's Dream, but there is a weird technique used in A Midsummer Night's Dream as well, in terms of the play within a play, so that is again slightly different. And the writing for me in A Midsummer Night's Dream is so poetic and beautiful. I didn't find a single thing wrong with it. So I can kind of put the 2 writings together, but the technique is so different, it's a bit weird. So could we say that Hamlet and A Midsummer Night's Dream, 2 of the best Shakespeare plays, both weren't written by Shakespeare? Or are they just both so good because it was just his best work? Honestly, who knows? I'm still very confused. I think I need to reread this to finally decide my thoughts on it, but it will always be 5 stars because it's an outstanding play. Please leave a comment in the description box. if you agree or disagree with me or have points to prove me wrong, because I'm just so confused. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. I really hoped you enjoyed me rambling about Hamlet and my crazy thought patterns. But yes, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!